Hello, beautiful, amazing, fantastic world, and you, beautiful, beautiful individual. Today, I would like to speak about youthful maturity or mature youthfulness. Now, these two sides that is constantly within our human being, both as a physical, the youth-giving forces that keeps us living and up and having certain oomph to us, and on the other hand the death dealing, the constantly breaking down, so that over time and in the end it will win over, so that our body is given over to the natural forces of this planet. The balance between these two, and that means you have a certain frivolous nature to you, like a spiritual, like a fairy kind of, that is dancing in the forest frivolously and any without any kind of concerns or fears. And on the other hand, you have the constant, the mature, the serious, and the structure building. But also, both of these has their good side. When I talk about these nature fairies, they also are not very concerned with the occurrences and happenings in the world and what is meant to be unfolded and striven for as potentials. You know, the ignorance, the I don't care type of nature. And on the other hand, you have I care too much type of nature. These two are Lucifer and Ahriman. They are far more complex than that, of course, and they are not evil beings per se, because how you see them is how they will reflect. So the good nature of Lucifer is his sense for beauty, art, abstract art, creativity, and youthfulness to him. But he also has his shadow side of ignorance, of wanting to go back to the past, wanting to stay where they are. And on the other hand, you have Ahriman's, well, fear-bringing, death-dealing forces, but also fear for the future, and taking serious what should not be taken seriously, just objectively speaking here. But he also has his meticulous nature, his ability to see things detailed, and to see things very, very descriptive in a sense. Of course, these things are more often than not dead concepts, mechanical concepts. But if you balance out these two poles, having the equilibrium in the middle, you redeem both of them. You bring out the best of these two beings. And no, we are not talking about any kind of evil worship here. We are talking about holding them. The picture is Lucifer tries to fly above, and he breaks his own wings because he realizes that he has no qualities that is above anyone else. So he breaks his own wings because he just can't sustain it. On the other hand, Ahriman, he shackles himself down in the underworld. It is because of compassion. You feel compassion for these beings and not fear. You do not shun them, you balance them, and they will, well, put themselves out of commission, is what happens. It is because love is the Christ's domain, and they cannot infringe upon the domain of the Christ. There is a reason why these beings reacted, why they are in such, why they refuse certain truths. It is because if they reconcile with it, they would have to come to an understanding that, well, we will have to reflect a little. And if they reflect on themselves, well, you can imagine yourself. If you do have something yourself, you probably reflect upon yourself right now. But it is all about not being afraid of it. It is about going in and having a certain maturity and a certain steadfastness, but also having a certain courage to move forward. You see, we need to move forward. We cannot be Luciferic and want to go back to the Greek times. You wouldn't want that. Or to the Egyptian times, or the Persian times, or the first epoch, the Indian times. No, you wouldn't. Because although they had sublime spiritual wisdom, atavistic clairvoyance, it was a grace given to them. We can never go back there, because what was once good is today, well, not good, to say the least. Just imagine if we went back in time and brought back certain archaic systems. First and foremost, we don't have the faculties to understand them anymore, because imagination and pictures and given inspiration were part of our consciousness, part of our perception and being. Today we are meant in freedom to awaken through our inner faculty of thinking, feeling, willing, to consciously be able to be clairvoyant again. You see, it was a dim atavistic clairvoyance in the past, but they were not fully conscious of it. They didn't control it in any way. They didn't have any say in it, as in a sense. Today, it is about choice. Either you develop your potential or you don't. Nothing is given to you. So even though you want to, catch up to someone, but if you do not do the work, you will never be able to catch up. Obviously, that speaks for itself. You cannot just wish for something but stop at the wish. It has to be striven for in action, And that is where the youthful maturity comes in, the love-bound duty, the love for the work, the love for the development. And that is the win-win, right? That is the balance. They are harder to reconcile, these two sides, than is mentioned, Because through actions you have to feel its difficulty. You have to feel the struggle of these two sides fighting against each other. And your thinking and your will constantly clashes within our emotions. That is where they meet. But through our emotion, through our feeling, through our heart, through our compassion, through our empathy, our understanding for the world, and through our warmth and our intention to bring warmth into the world, you reconcile them. And they just, either they like it or not, have to cooperate. If they do not cooperate, you will have a constant struggle within your own inner being. And either we like it or not, we're part of this threefold nature, the balance between Ahriman, Lucifer, and the Christ. The Christ is the equilibrium. Imagine a scale, and where those two scales meet is where the equilibrium lies, and we are meant to hold them steady like that. More like this, actually. We are in the middle here, and we are not trying to have any of them having the upper hand. Of course, one of them will always, if you are more of a creative spirit or if you are more of a productive spirit, it is only based on what is your inner disposition. But you will always lean to one than the other. But it is about, if you have had a messy past, if you had a past that is not very pretty, and you do work upon yourself, you will have a stable future. It is not a given that you will have a messy future just because you had a messy past. It is all about how willing are you to do the work. So, it is enormously difficult to speak about this balance, because you can see it everywhere. In outer nature you see it constantly, the dissolving or the growing and the dying. You see it in plants, you see it in... Of course, minerals are excluded from this because it is constantly breaking down. That is the only part of outer physical nature that is really constantly breaking down. But in plants, you have the life-giving forces that blends in with the mineral forces, hence it becomes visible. And you see, by that alone, we do not follow these laws of outer nature as we believe we do. Because once we leave our physical body aside, you see that the body starts to break down. But it doesn't break down right now. You are alive. But we are not a battery. We are not a mechanical robotic structure. In that case, you do know that, just objectively speaking here, mechanical forces can only be related through human. Because we created the mechanics. But outside of the human, mechanical forces are irrelevant, because they are not reality. It is harmonic, it is atomic. But it is also laziness, because you perceive passively the outer nature through inertia and come into that realm. Now, if you stop before you come into the atomic world and use your living imagination to perceive the forces behind, instead of going into the atomic, which is dead, you find the living, imaginative forces of the hierarchy. Now, of course, you will have to earn this and truly show your dedication to it, and they will slowly but surely, through inspiration, let you into the spiritual world. But you have to have a certain feel for morality and love. The highest realm you can reach is the moral world, because it is not a physical thing. It is only through human beings you can find the moral. And you will have to, what is it called? Impose the morals into nature. That means you see the moral forces in nature where it otherwise isn't any morals. As I say, it's so difficult to explain through words, but you can be moral although you don't see the moral outside of you. That is what I mean. And you introduce that through example into the world, so that others can follow along. Someone has to start it. It is the same with the weapons race. There have to be a country which both is capable and willing to let go of all their weapons so others can follow. That was just an extreme example. But you get my drift here. It is all about stopping to have a fear that we have come so far. Excluding certain countries today, no one will just come in and take over like some cartoony tyrannical villains, you know? That is not how it works. The spiritual world is far more complex than that. We are not in a dominion of animals, and when one leader disappears, there will be someone else that comes and dominates all. That is not truth. There are far more people that believe in the good-natured and the compassion of things than there are people that wish to dominate and to control. And those that wish to dominate and control, they show themselves. They really do. You feel it in their feelings. But by being moral and good, but having a maturity to it, that means if you ever meet someone that wishes to dominate you, it is kind of like they try to send you certain forces, but it falls off like some bullets on a plexiglass. It just won't stick because you choose to see him as equal, always. When they are equal, they cannot go above you. And they don't have any qualities that is above you either. Just as you don't have any qualities that makes you above any other human being. Objectively, every human being can reach stages that makes us equal. But it is about, are you thinking that me and you are equal, or are you putting yourself above or below me? And it's the same with me. Do I put myself above or below you? It is a living, active practice to see someone as equal. So I think I will leave you with this today. Thank you so much. May Father, Holy Spirit, Christ, Michael, ancient masters of old, ancestors from every incarnation, higher hierarchy. Oh, I think I said it. But bless, protect, guide, and love you, you beautiful individual you. And may you be strong in your endeavor to unfold your inner strength and inner potential, to search for truth, to stick with truth and morals and good, or not. Karma is also a thing. Grace is also a thing. So I would recommend grace. It is a pretty amazing thing to experience. To go around being scandalous and feeling that any time now the karma might collapse upon you is not a good feeling either. It is about holding to the good, the true, and the beautiful. And not let yourself be dragged helter-skelter everywhere, but staying strong to your heart, because your heart, your compassion, is where the Christ lies, is where redemption lies. So stand strong to it, even though you don't perceive anything that you yourself is striving for within your inner being out in the world. Because it is still a young thing, it is still a new way of seeing things, this active, living, moral, conscious perception. So, thank you, love you, goodbye.